So what I have for you guys today is a lens review, and it's going to be the long-awaited, highly requested Voigtlander Macro APO-LANTHAR 65mm f2 spherical lens. And this lens has just build quality of dreams, to say the least. It's just all metal, feels incredible in the hands. It's got a manual aperture ring with a third clicks on it. Now you can't turn the clicks off, but it just feels incredible. It has a crazy long focus throw, as you can see here, which makes it incredibly easy to manual focus on like precision type stuff, you know, especially at the macro levels. But because you have to turn it so many times, it can kind of be a pain in the butt when you're going from, you know, close to like infinity sort of thing. Like you have to just turn. So it is what it is, but that's just one thing I noticed as far as usability goes. But the way that the focus ring feels is absolutely unbelievable. It's like the most smooth, perfectly dampened feeling that you can get like in a lens based on my experience over all these years. So super nice, high quality. It's got a pinch style lens cap. Now looking at the front of the lens, you can see that front element is quite deep in there, and it has like these ridges, you know, to help, you know, with the flaring and things like that. It actually has a 67mm filter thread on the front, and it also has this lens hood here that threads on the front. So once you get it lined up, it feels really good. You can just hear it, just the quality, the build quality on this thing is just incredible. Now looking at it from the back, we do not have a weather sealing gasket here. So the weather sealing on this lens is not the greatest. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty good since it's such a high quality built lens, but there's no gasket here, so keep that in mind. Now also note, it has the electronic contacts. So this is great because of the lens's manual focus, but it has the electronic contacts. It'll transfer what aperture the lens is at in the EXIF data. So like in Lightroom, for example, you will see the aperture, you know, of the lens, even though it's a fully manual lens. So that's what's cool about the electronic contacts. In addition, for stabilization purposes, it'll tell the camera that it's 65mm. So on like the Sony a7C II, the sensor stabilization will know what to do with this lens because it's telling it it's 65mm. Otherwise, you could manually set that in the camera, but it's nice when you don't have to do that. Lastly, when you focus the lens, it'll automatically magnify zoom because it's telling the camera that you're currently focusing the lens. So that's the advantage of the electronic contacts, even though it's a fully manual lens. So let me just mount this up to my Sony a7C here because I want to show you what it looks like on the camera, but also it's easier to turn the focus ring and stuff. All right, so now you can see it in my hands, and just watch how many turns this takes. And this is me doing it like as fast as I can. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, like if you're going from minimum focus distance, like food, for example, like at a table, which is what I do a lot of times, and then I decide I want to take a portrait of like somebody at the table, I'm like, you know, you got to do that. So it's not that big a deal, guys. It forces you to slow down. And now if you're in a high-paced situation, you know, speed-oriented, manual focus isn't the best. But the optical quality that this lens pumps out is unbelievable, as you'll see in a second in the sample photos, that it makes me want to use this lens in like every scenario, you know? So I just don't want to take it off the camera. But sometimes it's just a pain in the butt. If I'm trying to get a portrait of my kid or whatever, you know, they have to stand still and all that type of stuff. So again, it's just manual focus versus autofocus type thing. But just keep that in mind. This is like a specialty lens, and I pretty much use it for product photography like a lot. I really like the macro abilities for food. And because it's an APO design, it just has like even more pop. Like when you see these sample photos, you'll see what I mean. If you follow my reviews, you'll notice the contrast is like lower, especially on the more affordable lenses. When you see the raw files off with this lens, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it almost looks like they're already edited because the contrast is so punchy and it's just so ludicrously sharp, even at f2 corner to corner, that it's just like incredible. Now the focus breathing is pretty bad on this lens as you go through the focus because the elements are moving so much the focus breathing is just really bad. So this isn't good for that type of stuff. So if you're doing video, this isn't really the best option as far as focus breathing goes. It is good for video though if you're just leaving the focus fixed and have it on like a camera slider or something, which is what I use it for, like when doing product video and stuff like that. So that's fine. But when you're racking the focus, it does zoom quite a bit, as I'll show you here. If we go to like infinity, for example, like this, you could see just the size of the model. You could see the model's like kind of small now in the frame. And when I zoom all the way in on the model, turn, as you can see, like right about here, now you can see like the model is taking up more of the frame. So from one side to the other, it changes drastically. So the minimum focus distance is 30 centimeters or 12.2 inches. And that's about how close this little model is here in front of me. So this macro lens has a 1:2 magnification ratio, which will yield you about 0.5x magnification. So it's not a true 1:1 macro lens, but 1:2 is pretty good in my opinion. It's very good in fact. So it's not quite as good for like getting the eye of an insect sort of thing. Those you would kind of need like instead of a 1:2, you'd almost need a 2:1 macro to get like the eye of an insect and stuff. So I'll show you some sample photos of some bugs and stuff, but I couldn't really get that close because it's only 0.5 magnification. So you can get close enough to get great shots. And again, it's particularly optimized in my mind for like products, food, and stuff like that. Insects, you kind of need a little bit more macro, I would say. Like maybe 100mm true 1:1 macro would definitely be better. So inside we have a 10 blade aperture diaphragm, which is going to yield you nice buttery bokeh renderings, as you'll see in a second. So this lens is designed for the full frame Sony E-mount and Nikon Z-mount cameras. And when you use it on a crop factor camera, it'll yield you about a 97.5 effective focal range, you know, when you factor in the crop factor. This lens also has almost no distortion, which is super helpful when correcting RAW files. So the Sony version retails for $9.99 US, but it's currently $150 off, so you can get it for about $850 right now. The Nikon Z version is going for $7.99 US and is currently $100 off, so you can get it for $6.99 US. So if you guys are in the market for a top quality optic, you know, granted, it's manual focus, okay? So, but the optical quality is at another level. You've heard me say in the past in reviews and stuff how there's like levels to this game. Well, this is a perfect example of that. So when you say like micro contrast and 3D pop and things like that, this is one of those lenses that like stands out. All right, guys, let's go through some sample photos and I'll show you why this lens is, in my opinion, at another level. So I took this photo of this Sony 24-50G lens, fairly new one here, and I took the shot like this so I could turn it into this for the thumbnail. So I left space around it on purpose so I could put the, you know, the letters and stuff in there. And I think this came out awesome. So I just, you know, you could just see how the 3D that this lens offers is remarkable. Now here's another example. This was at work looking down at the gas protection modules. And you could see the depth of field fall off is insane at f2, minimum focus distance. Here's another one. This is a fire extinguisher sign. You can see how the depth of field just falls off. It's crazy. Here's some cool lights from the random equipment at work here. So here you can see the wires, how good they look. I focused on the green and yellow here. And the fall off is really nice. Also, guys, up here on the top left is the EXIF data. So you can see the ISO is pretty high on this particular shot. A couple more. Here's another one. Shows off some bokeh balls. Look pretty cool. Some grass. Now, a friend of mine happens to be growing some of this stuff, and he asked me to take a couple of photos for him. And you can see here just how good these photos look. So I feel like this shot came out incredible. It looks like magazine quality, like the depth of field, like just the detail that is rendered on this lens is incredible. As you could see here, just look at all that detail, especially in the highlights. The highlight detail is what really makes the micro contrast stand out, because a lot of times that highlight bright light source hitting a subject washes out. And when it washes out, you lose detail. And that's where the micro contrast comes in. If you can maintain detail in those really bright highlight areas, you're going to get way more clarity overall in your photos and stuff. And that's where this lens really shines. And hopefully you guys can see what I'm talking about in these photos. Just another snapshot. So here's just one of a burger, and if I zoom in here, you can see just incredible sharpness on the burger and stuff there. And this was at very high ISO, 12,800, but the background rendering is quite nice. 3D pop is good. You can see the fries in the foreground are completely blurry. Here's a pepperoni pizza. Oh, actually, pepperoni and sausage, it looks like. So great detail. Another high ISO image here. I'll just zoom in so you can see. Now, this is a good example of that highlight clarity. So you could see all the detail in this bright ice. And a lot of this detail would have been lost with a cheaper lens. And this lens is able to just maintain that highlight information a lot better than cheaper lenses. And I just love the way that this rendered. And it just looks so cool. Like the ice looks like glass almost. And you can see down here, like the way the depth of field falls off. It just looks really cool. Now here's just one of a chicken that I cooked, spatchcock style. And I just zoomed in on it so you could see more and more detail as I get closer. So I didn't actually zoom in. I got closer to the subject. But just look at this when I zoom in. Now I'm at 100% preview. And look at the depth of field fall off, how good that looks. And here's one more. This is as close as I could get. So right around here is the sharpness. So that's how that renders, and I think it looks really good. Now, this is, in my opinion, a good example of 3D pop, because to me, the face looks like it's popping off the screen. And that is just a sticker stuck to that gray metal. And then to the left, like 20 feet away or 30 feet away is the street view. So you're getting that depth of field separation, but the face looks like it's popping off, you know? Like it just has this like 3D look to it. Like I said, it's hard to measure 3D pop. It's not something you can actually measure. So you got to like see it. And again, after reviewing so many lenses, like this lens definitely has it. And this is a really good shot. I think that kind of illustrates it from my perspective anyway. So if I zoom in here, you can just see how killer that looks. Now, I also love to take photos of food, as you guys probably know if you've seen my reviews before. And just look at this. You see how the highlight detail there? It's maintaining that highlight detail. And it just looks phenomenal. Really, really good rendering. Here's another one even closer. If I zoom in on this rib, you can see like all the little detail there. Like it's not bleeding. These highlights aren't bleeding together and causing a washed out sort of look. It's just extremely sharp and extremely detailed, which is why I use this lens all the time. I use this lens constantly. It's hard to take it off my camera because the results are ludicrously good. As you can see here, of this rib. I mean, delicious. Also, the rib was delicious. Now check out these bubbles. Look at how these bubbles render. Here's some food. They were like these little bagel bite sort of things with some dipping sauce. Here's another wing, delicious looking wing. And again, you can just see the incredible detail and clarity. This is just a lime, and if I zoom in here to the focus, you can see all the little bubbles there reacting to the acid or whatever. Here's another wing with some white sauce on it. Looks phenomenal. Some chicken. Just a pig bottle opener thing. Check out this yellow jacket here. Look at the condensation. Like I said, guys, next level. Here's one of my buddy, Aaron. He lives down in Texas. He's actually good friends with my brother, Dave. And you could see just incredible detail and clarity and so forth. You could see how well the background rendering is maintained. That super bright background. There's no distracting chromatic aberrations and all that stuff on cheaper lenses. This lens has none of that. It just looks phenomenal. Here's another one of my nephew, Joseph. Here's another one here. I like this one because I put a cup in the foreground, so you get more depth of field play. Thought that came out pretty good. Now here's one of a light bulb. Check this out. You can actually see the filaments in there, and just look at how that renders. I mean, it almost looks like a sculpture or something. Here's another one, and this one actually looks like there's motion captured, but there wasn't any. It just, that's kind of what it looks like. I thought it looked cool. It's almost like a flower. And here's one more, the same light bulb looking up, or I believe I was looking up, yeah. Now here's just one of some seashells looking through like a hole in the pot that was holding them. Just fantastic. See that highlight detail, how it maintains it so perfect? Now here's just one a little snail hanging on the fence there. Here's another angle. Now this one in particular I feel like looks like really 3D. Like it looks like those boards are like coming out of the screen a little bit. And if I zoom in, you could see the sharpness is just insane on the top of this wood, and it falls off right here so fast and so hard that it just like looks more 3D. Like to me, it looks like the wood is coming out. This is like one of those barrels that they chop in half and then they put flowers in them or whatever. And I think it's a good example. Now this is probably the best example I have in my opinion, for all the shots I have, to show you how well the optical quality of this lens is, like the micro contrast I keep saying over and over. And here you can see how it just maintains the detail, even though like some of it is very, very bright and some of it is very dark. Right here is where I was focused, and it's just the sharpness and clarity is incredible. And look how it falls off. So this is a good example, in my opinion, of, again, that like 3D pop, that separation, micro contrast, clarity, and sharpness. And that micro contrast also follows through with color. So you get like better color and more clear. It's like the colors are like thicker, or they have like more depth to them, sort of thing, with a lens like this. Here's just a water bottle. And if you take a look at this water bottle, obviously it looks great, but the windows in the background, you can see just how well that they render under this lighting situation. That's extremely high contrast situation there. And now here's just one of my dad looking through the stuff on the table there, so just so you can get an idea of how that would render. And here's another one, and here's one more. I'll zoom in so you can see the sharpness. Now at f2, I mean, you could just see this is absolutely remarkable sharpness. And also note the highlights on the glasses here. On a cheaper lens, like these highlights here would like be like bleeding out. You know, it just wouldn't be this crisp looking. And same thing up here. They would like bleed out into like into his eyebrow and stuff like that. And it would just overall make the image not look as clear and crisp. So this, I feel like, is a good example of, again, illustrating how the contrast is handled. This is just like one of those weird like round flowers. My buddy just got one of these Volvos, and I thought it looked kind of interesting with the taillight here on the left and then the logo on the right. Here's one of the tire looking down at the ground. So you can see the tread here up top on the tire. Now, here's one in the lab scene at the minimum focus distance to show you guys how good this lens renders. And again, now this is a good example of sharpness levels, because this is insanely sharp. This is at f2 wide open, and it's very, very sharp, as you can see. And the depth of field is extremely narrow. So like right here is actually a little bit soft because the depth of field is so narrow. F4 would have made this part here more sharp. But you could see where the actual focus was just, I mean, it's ludicrous. And there's no fringing, no green, no purple, none of that crap. Just incredible optical quality across the board. Now check out this spider. Pretty cool looking. Got like a little furry on him on there. Here's just another lens. This is the 75mm f1.5 swirly lens. Really cool lens. You might want to check out that review as well. It was a lot of fun to use this lens. This is a fully manual lens as well. Now this lens here, the 75mm f2, I'd really like for you guys to watch this review after you watch this review, so you can see the difference, because this lens is really good, the TT Artisan 75 f2. It's very close, like focal length and aperture wise, but it's only like a $200 lens, but it has autofocus also. As good as this TT Artisan lens is for the money, it does not have the same micro contrast as the Voigtlander. It's not even close. So when you look at the sample photos from this review, as good as they are, by the way, for a very affordable lens, it's just not at the same level. So, and because of the focal length and aperture is so close, I think it's a good comparison. So this is what the shot looked like before I used Photoshop to make it look like this. Just trying to make a better thumbnail. But this is the actual shot off the camera. So here's another one that I actually combined two separate photos. So I focused here on the letters, took a shot, Then I focused on the aperture diaphragm blades and took another shot, and then I combined them in Photoshop to get this final result. So this is a composite image, but I think it looks great. Again, for product photography, I absolutely love using this lens. Here's another one for the Canon R50V. It did a great job. Now here's an interesting one. I just was holding a round light in front of the lens, and it actually made it look like there was like a ball inside the lens. I've never seen that before when I've been doing this type of stuff. So I thought that was just really just interesting looking. Now here's just a dragonfly. It's one of these cool blue ones, aqua blue, I guess. And here's another one. And I was about 4 feet away for both of these dragonfly shots because that's as close as I could get before they would fly away. So I had to like keep a little bit of a distance. But I mean, the depth of field of this frame is absolutely killer. Like the background rendering looks great. Foreground rendering looks awesome. It's not like distracting and busy. It's just like creamy and cool looking. And then the subject just pops off the screen with all the color detail, clarity, and sharpness. So I really like the way that this shot came out. Now here's my buddy Frog that's always down there at the Basher Kill. I know where he hangs out and I can go just walk by him and he always hops out to say hi. It's pretty cool. I've gotten so many photos of him over the past like year. But look at how the background renders. This was at f3.5, so it does have a little bit of that octagoning effect on the bokeh balls. You could see a little bit more clearly here. And but I think it looks great. I mean, as far as the shot itself goes, I think it looks awesome. Here's another one where I focused on the eye, and you can see that background rendering just looks killer. It almost looks like crystal glass or something. It's hard to explain. But anyways, love the way that that came out. Now here's just some food from down at Eddie's. This was an everything bagel fry, like cheese fries. Now look at the micro contrast of the highlights here. You see how it maintains all that detail on the white? That's what I'm talking about, guys. Here's another one. Strawberry shortcake pancakes. They were killer. Look at this strawberry. Now here's just a beer on the bar with the glasses in the background rendering very, very nicely, I would say. Now here's just another quarter that somebody had, and I've never seen this one, so I took a photo of it real quick. I stopped it down at f4 for like maximum sharpness and clarity here. So at f4 you could see this is just ludicrous sharpness, top to bottom, corner to corner, as far as the quarter goes. Now here's just a layering shot here. If I zoom in, you can see the focal plane is right here. That tiny little sliver, and then zoomed out, that's what it looks like. Here's another one, and this one I thought looked pretty cool. You can see the little bubbles there, how it rendered. The reflection here is pretty sweet. Here's one of Darius, and I thought this shot came out great. And here's just another one. My brother kept asking them to tap this new beer, and they just wouldn't do it because they were having a party or whatever. So finally, they just put a sticker on it. They're like, "Here, Chris." I thought that was funny. We were cracking up. And here's just one more shot. This is the last shot, and I just wanted to show you. This is another one with that depth of field layering type thing. You can see it's another beer. But I just want to show you. You could literally just crop this just like this, and it'd be like a cool abstract shot. So. Again, that's the about 80 or so sample photos I wanted to show you guys. I've been using this lens for like over a year now, and I got so many photos with it. So I tried to select the best ones I had just to really illustrate that micro contrast, 3D pop, like why this lens is at another level. You know what I mean? Like I really wanted to try to show it to you guys so you can see for yourself. Now, if you go watch some of my other lens reviews, you'll see what I mean. Like the highlights just don't have that same detail. The sharpness might be there, but it just like kind of like gets like muddy, like as far as the details go. All right, guys, that about wraps up this review of the Voigtlander 65mm Lanthar lens, and I absolutely love this lens. I'm never getting rid of this lens, and I use it, like I said, for tons of product photography. I didn't show you all of them. Like I said, I pretty much use that for all my product photography now, and so I just showed you a few samples there. I honestly can't recommend this lens enough. If you're somebody looking for next level image quality and you don't mind manually focusing, I would highly recommend looking into the Voigtlander lenses, the ones that say APO in particular. They make a lot of awesome lenses. They have lenses with a swirly bokeh as well. Like those are different models and stuff, but the APOs are just remarkable. So I do plan on getting another one at some point, but they are expensive, so it's an investment sort of thing. But anyways, I can't recommend it enough. The build quality is off the charts, and using it is a lot of fun. Like I said, the focusing it does take some time because the focus throw is so long, but the advantage of that is when you're doing product photography and stuff like on a tripod, it's so easy to get the focus absolutely perfect. And on other macro lenses, I find it very difficult to get the focus perfect. It's like you get it close and then you try to adjust it and you just can't tell, like, if you have it right. On this one, it's super easy, and that's a non-issue. Like, you could tell exactly when you have it perfect. It's super easy. So I really like that, and that's what that long focus throw gets you. So it's like a love-hate situation sometimes if you have to go to infinity to minimum focus or whatever. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. If you guys are interested, I'll have links below in the description area. I really appreciate you guys using those affiliate links. It helps me out tremendously, so thank you very much. And if you guys have any questions, please ask below. If you guys have any lenses in particular that you just want me to review, please also let me know in the comments section. I appreciate that. And I will catch up with you guys next time. So have a great day. Take care.